perfect balance of frustration and elation. A puzzle game that can truly melt your brain and leave you feeling baffled. If you play Irisfall, I offer you one bit of advice. Don't be afraid to step back and temporarily just leave the game well alone. And I mean well alone. You won't ever want to quit it completely, as it has this beautiful way of dragging you right back in. But sometimes your brain needs a break. Hey, I'm Jody from the Indie Toaster, and this is Irisfall. Right, I hope you're ready for this, because Irisfall is, definitely not straightforward to say the least. In fact, the story leaves you scratching your head just as much as the puzzles do. And it all starts with your young protagonist waking up from a pretty creepy nightmare. She scans the room and finds a cat sitting on the windowsill. Now, presumably this is not her cat, so she does the totally sane thing of following it. Yeah. Now, the cat leads her out of a door into a creepy stairway corridor style thing, which only gets a lot more eerier when the colour drains. Then you continue down said corridor and find a book. Now, as you get closer to the book, it bursts open and you discover that these books allow you to enter the Shadow Realm. A bit confused? Yeah, I was too. You learn more about the story as you progress through the game, finding little snippets of it to help you understand what's going on. And each time you learn something new, you start to make a storyline in your head to try figure out how this entire thing is going to end. As you find out more and more information, you change the story in your head, and as this is such a big part of the game, I'm going to stop there. No more information, no spoilers. One last thing I will say though is, wow, I did not expect that ending. Jaw dropped. Totally confused. And even now, after I've finished the game, I'm still trying to piece it together. The story is very complex. Either that, or all those puzzles have just really left me brain dead. Either way, it's definitely an interesting one. Before we move on to the game itself, I want you to just look. And I mean look. It's beautiful, right? I mean just stunning. Each area is bursting with detail, and the use of limited colours to enhance items or just contrast the darkness, it's amazing. Now, if we look at the cutscenes, these are very different. They're black and white, more like sketches with little detail, and yet they are gorgeous. They've got a very Studio Ghibli vibe. This entire game visually is just stunning. There's so much to see, and every area is so different. There's no same old background being rinsed and repeated. Paired with a beautifully complementary soundtrack, it creates the perfect mysterious vibe while having this brilliant, standout personality, which makes the entire game feel very unique in what is such a large genre. Okay, I've swooned over looks long enough, let's get into the gameplay. Now, Irisfall uses a fixed camera angle, which means at times your character did look a little bit drunk as you stumbled around the room, destroying everything in your path, but overall the controls were pretty smooth and extremely easy to pick up. Looking at the puzzle side of things, there was a great variety on offer. In fact, there are so many different puzzles. And there's no real repetition with them either. You've got the underlying shadow puzzle which will crop up throughout the game, but other than that, each puzzle's pretty much a one-off. And this is great, because if you find one type of puzzle really tricky, you rarely have to do it again. Some puzzles you will have to do a few times, but it's all within the same scene, rather than it being spread across a game. Now, with all this variety, you'd probably think, okay, there's going to be lots of similar style puzzles, but they were actually all very different and had this great uniqueness to them. Puzzles were also really well incorporated into the game and not just thrown in haphazardly. But the thing that really surprised me was how new the puzzles all felt. I've played a lot of puzzle games, yet Irisfall managed to introduce me to new puzzles, and the ones that I had played about 100 times already before were made to feel very different because of the small changes that were made to them. With a mix of puzzles that take logic and sometimes just trial and error, you'll definitely have some that you'll sail through and others that will leave you completely stumped. And it's those puzzles that will almost be hard enough to make you want to quit the game completely, but you'll come running back when you think of the solution because the mystery is too interesting to leave. I'll admit I had to hang up my hat a few times before being able to finish the game, my greatest enemy being this lamppost puzzle you'll have about maybe halfway-ish through the game. I completely kicked myself in the teeth when I figured out how to do it, but it drove me to the near brink of madness. My only issue with Iris Fall is something arguably very small, but it drives me insane nonetheless. I've never been so close to yelling at a young girl, "Just learn how to jump!" You see, in the game there are a lot of puzzles that could be solved so easily if you could jump. And when you get so close to a solution but there's a step the size of a walnut in the way, it gets a little bit aggravating. And in fairness, it does kind of diminish the puzzles, because it felt almost like logic was being taken out of the solution. If the obstacles were just a bit further away or just a bit higher, it wouldn't feel so exasperating. What makes it worse is that everyone else can jump. The cat, the shadow girl, just not me. It's a small gripe, yes, and it doesn't really affect the game, but when a puzzle is so hard that you struggle, it only adds to the frustration. And that's it, my one whole issue with Iris Fall, because it is an amazing game which gave me such accomplishment when I finished it. If you love puzzle games, you must give this a try, and it is now available on Steam. Or if you have played Iris Fall already, I would love to know what puzzles you guys got stuck on, so feel free to comment below. If you want to see some more video reviews, we do have more on the Indie Toaster channel, or you can visit the Indie Toaster website, link will be in the description down below for all of our written reviews. And if you have liked this, guys, we would be very appreciative if you do like and subscribe to the channel, and many thanks for watching.